Elon nodded, letting Bernie's words sink in. The story was tragically familiar, yet each individual had their own battles etched into their being. He glanced at the cardboard sign and then back at Bernie. "I'm sorry to hear that," Elon said, his voice softer now. "Must have been tough." Bernie gave a slight shrug, his composure still steady. "Life's tough for everyone in one way or another. The trick is just dealing with it." Elon tilted his head, studying Bernie. He wasn't bitter or angry. He had a calm resilience that was rare. "Do you have any family around? Anyone to help?" Bernie shook his head. "Not anymore. It's just me in the city now." He chuckled dryly. "Well, the city's got its hands full, doesn't it?" For a moment, they sat in silence, the sounds of the bustling streets filling the air. Elon reached into his blazer pocket and pulled out a sleek metal card holder. He retrieved a business card and handed it to Bernie. "Listen," Elon said, "I can't fix everything, but I know people who can help. This card has a direct line to someone on my team. They'll take care of whatever you need to get back on your feet. Housing, job support, anything." Bernie hesitated, looking at the card like it was too good to be true. "Why are you doing this?" Elon smiled faintly. "Because I can. And because people like you deserve better." Bernie took the card, his hand steady despite his cautious expression. "Thanks," he said after a pause. "I'll think about it." As Elon stood up, he adjusted his baseball cap. "Take care, Bernie. Call when you're ready." He walked toward the garage, leaving Bernie on the curb with the card in his hand. For a moment, Bernie sat there, staring at the name on the card. It read simply, Elon himself, a faint glimmer of hope sparking in his eyes for the first time in years. Up, it was too much. She left, took the kids. Haven't seen them in years. Elon nodded, absorbing the weight of Bernie's words. "That's a lot to carry," he said softly. Bernie chuckled bitterly. "Yeah, well, life's not exactly kind to people like me. You make mistakes, and the world doesn't give you a lot of second chances." Elon paused, looking at Bernie with a mixture of empathy and resolve. "What if you got one?" Bernie glanced at him, skeptical. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if someone gave you another shot? Helped you get back on your feet? No strings attached?" Elon leaned back slightly, his tone firm but kind. Bernie shook his head, his laugh low and disbelieving. "You sound like one of those TV preachers. What's the catch?" "No catch," Elon said. "Just a chance to prove to yourself that you're still the man who had that purpose, that Marine, that father." Bernie stared at Elon, his guarded expression softening just slightly. For the first time in years, the possibility of hope seemed less like a fantasy. "And how exactly would that work?" Bernie asked cautiously. Elon smiled faintly. "I can set you up with housing, therapy, and a job. Something meaningful, something you can build on. All I ask is that you give it your best shot." Bernie rubbed the back of his neck, his thoughts racing. "I don't know, man. Sounds too good to be true." Elon stood, reaching into his pocket and pulling out a sleek business card. "Sometimes, good things are true. Call this number when you're ready." Bernie took the card, staring at the name printed on it. He read it aloud, almost to himself. "Elon Musk." Elon nodded. "That's me. I'll be waiting for your call." As Elon walked away, Bernie sat there, the card in his hand, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. For the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to wonder, what if? Elon glanced up, a faint smile on his face. "All right, let's get you that shop." Bernie stared at him, disbelief etched across his weathered features. "What are you talking about?" "I mean," Elon said, holding up his phone, "you've got the skills, you just need the tools and the space. I can help with that." Bernie shook his head, the weight of skepticism heavy in his voice. "You don't even know me. Why would you do that?" Elon's expression turned serious. "Because I can, and because I believe people deserve a shot at redemption. You've been through enough. It's time someone helped you." Bernie has make it sound so simple. "It is," Elon replied. Complicated problems often have simple beginnings. Let me give you the tools. You do the rest. Bernie looked away, his mind racing. The idea felt unreal, like a dream he hadn't dared to dream. He finally looked back at Elon. And what if I fail? Elon smiled faintly. Then you learn and you try again. Failure's just part of the process. For the first time in years, Bernie felt a glimmer of something he thought he'd lost. Hope. He nodded slowly. All right, if you're serious, I'll give it a shot. Elon extended his hand. Deal. Bernie shook it, his grip firm despite his doubts. Elon stood, already making notes in his phone. I'll have someone reach out to you tomorrow. We'll get you set up with a place to stay and everything you need for your shop. Bernie watched him, the words sinking in. As Elon began to walk away, Bernie called out, Hey! Elon turned, raising an eyebrow. Thanks, Bernie said, his voice gruff but sincere. Elon smiled, tipping his head. See you soon, Bernie. As the tech mogul disappeared into the night, Bernie sat there, the chill in the air feeling a little less biting. For the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to believe that tomorrow might just be different. Bernie's eyes narrowed as he watched Elon, his skepticism returning. Yeah, I did. But like I said, that takes money. A lot more than I've got. Elon nodded, not looking up from his phone. I know. That's why I'm going to help you with that too. Bernie blinked, his voice hesitant. You're really serious about this, huh? Completely, Elon replied, finally looking up. I can make a few calls and get the ball rolling. There's a program I'm connected with that helps veterans start small businesses. They'll cover tools, space, and even a little marketing to get you going. Bernie's hand tightened around the frayed edges of his sign again, but this time it wasn't out of defensiveness. It was to steady himself. It's too much, he said softly. Elon shook his head. It's not too much, Bernie. You've already done the hard part. You survived. Now it's about building something better. Bernie sat there, his emotions a mix of disbelief and a cautious flicker of hope. And what if I screw it up? Elon smiled, the kind of smile that carried a quiet confidence. Then you'll fix it. Or I'll help you fix it. Failure's just part of figuring it out. Bernie nodded slowly, letting the words sink in. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything yet, Elon said, tucking his phone away. Just show up at Horizon Haven tonight. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start figuring out the shop. For the first time in years, Bernie felt the weight of his struggles lift just slightly. He looked at Elon, his voice steady. I'll be there. Elon extended a hand, and Bernie shook it firmly. Good. See you soon, Bernie. As Elon walked away, the city lights reflected in Bernie's eyes, but this time they didn't feel so distant. For the first time in a long time, he felt like he might finally have a chance to reclaim his life. Standing just outside the door, holding the handlebars of a weathered motorcycle, the man wore a friendly but hesitant smile. Is this Bernie's repairs? The man asked, his voice carrying a tone of cautious optimism. Bernie stepped forward, wiping his hands on a rag. Yeah, that's me. What can I do for you? The man gestured to his motorcycle. She's been acting up lately. Won't start half the time. Figured it might be worth getting a professional to take a look. Bernie smiled, his confidence growing. Bring her in. Let's see what we're working with. The man wheeled the bike into the garage, and Bernie immediately got to work, his hands moving with an ease that felt like second nature. As he inspected the bike, the man watched quietly, eventually breaking the silence. You just open up here? Yeah, Bernie replied without looking up. Just a couple of weeks ago. Well, this is the kind of place we need around here, the man said. Not too many good repair shops left these days. I'll spread the word if you do a good job. Bernie chuckled. Fair enough. Let's make sure I earn it first. As the man sat down on a nearby stool, Bernie focused on the motorcycle, already diagnosing the issue. The sound of his tools echoed through the garage, blending with the faint hum of the city outside. For the first time in years, Bernie felt a sense of purpose and pride. This was his space, his work, his chance to rebuild, not just the machines that came through his doors, but his life as well. And for the first time, he believed he could do it. Just in case things get tough. Starting a business is hard, and I want to make sure you've got something to fall back on if you hit a rough patch. Bernie stared at the check, the amount written on it enough to cover months of expenses. He looked up at Elon, his voice thick with emotion. You've already done so much. I don't know if I can accept this. Elon placed a hand on Bernie's shoulder. You've already earned it, Bernie. This isn't charity. It's an investment in you. Use it if you need it. And if you don't, pass it forward someday. Bernie nodded slowly, tucking the check back into the envelope. You've got my word. I won't let this go to waste. Elon smiled, glancing at the motorcycle on the lift and the tools neatly arranged on the bench. I never doubted you would. Just remember, you're not alone in this. As Elon turned to leave, Bernie called out, Hey! Elon stopped, looking back. Thanks, Bernie said, his voice steady and sincere. Elon nodded, his usual calm confidence shining through. You're welcome, Bernie. Now keep going. You've got work to do. As the door closed behind Elon, Bernie stood there for a moment, holding the envelope tightly. Then he turned back to the motorcycle, a renewed sense of determination in his movements. This wasn't just a shop. It was his second chance, and for the first time in a long time, Bernie felt like he had everything he needed to make it work. About the power of small acts of kindness and the importance of giving people second chances. Comments flooded in from veterans, entrepreneurs, and everyday people inspired by Bernie's journey. A few weeks later, Bernie stood in his shop, watching as more customers than ever brought their vehicles in for repairs. The little garage that once felt like a dream now hummed with life. That evening, as Bernie closed up for the day, a familiar black Tesla pulled up outside. Elon stepped out, his ever-casual demeanor unchanged. Looks like business is booming, Elon said, glancing at the crowded lot. Bernie grinned, wiping his hands on a rag. It's all thanks to you. Elon shook his head. You did the work, Bernie. I just gave you the tools to succeed. Bernie hesitated for a moment, then said, You know, I've been thinking about what you said, about paying it forward. I want to start a program, maybe hire other vets, give them a chance like you gave me. Elon's face lit up with approval. That's exactly the kind of thinking we need more of. Let me know how I can help. Bernie extended his hand, and the two men shook firmly, a bond of mutual respect solidified. As Elon drove away into the night, Bernie stood in the doorway of his shop, the glow of the sign reading Bernie's Repairs reflecting in his eyes. This wasn't just a garage. It was a testament to resilience, kindness, and the belief that with the right support, anyone can rebuild their life. This ending beautifully encapsulates the themes of resilience, kindness, and the transformative power of support. Bernie's journey from homelessness to becoming a cornerstone of his community serves as an inspiring testament to the potential within everyone when given the right opportunities. His decision to give back, not just financially, but by mentoring others and supporting veterans in need, solidifies his story as one of true leadership and gratitude. The ripple effect of Elon's act of kindness reminds us how much impact a single gesture can have, proving that compassion combined with action can rebuild lives and uplift entire communities. This narrative is not just about two men. It's a reminder to all of us that hope, when nurtured, can flourish into something extraordinary.